Let me see, what am I working on that I can share? That I can say on social media. Okay. So I can't fly right now because they're doing the quarantines. If you like fly into some major cities in different states, you gotta fill out a piece of paper saying where you're from and where you're going and why you're there. And depending on what city, they require like quarantine. Otherwise you get fined, I think maybe like $2,000 or something like that. And if you don't comply or whatever, you might have to go to court to get it approved or dismissed. I don't know, just a big hassle. Because I guess 12 states or even, maybe even more now are spiking in coronavirus test results. So, but the hospital, the people that are dying and going are less, which is probably because, you know, they've opened a lot of businesses, and of course if people go out, it's going to go up. But I guess it's a lot of people that are younger and, you know, maybe healthier. I don't know. Less people are dying, at least. Anyway, my point is, so I've got some jobs that I have to do outside of town and in other states, working with other people and other companies. And I now have to drive everywhere. So it's going to take me a day or two, 2 days, a day or two to go to meetings, do the job. To get there versus flying and taking what, an hour to 2 to 4 hours to fly cross country. And then, sorry, my brain so fried today. So my fridge goes out in my camper that I travel in with my parrots. And I need the fridge because I've prepped food and... But the freezer's working, and I just had the refrigerator door replaced because it popped open and it got stuck or whatever and it broke. It cost like $200 to replace the fridge or $100 to ship. And then it cost me to have it installed. So I probably just spent over $300 just replacing the refrigerator door. Now the refrigerator is not working, and they're saying that it might be the coils or whatever, but it would cost just as much to get a new refrigerator than to get the coils or fixed and taken apart and put together. I don't know. So what's good is I have an extended warranty that'll cover it, which is great, with a deductible. But so I went to the RV maintenance place, and they said it's going to take like 6 to 7 weeks before they can get one in. So I got to wait 6-7 weeks to get a new fridge, which is fine. I'll use like a nice chest until then. And I've got a portable fridge I can plug in once I get to like an RV resort and plug in. But, you know, while I'm on the road, I can use the ice chest and the freezer. I know it's really boring, dry. The freezer at least works, so I could put my prepped meals in the freezer and things that I have frozen in the freezer, and I could just use the ice chest for the fridge. Anyway, so I'm about to leave, and my AC goes out. I turn on the AC the night before to like load up and pack up the camper, the truck, and then the next day it's off and it won't turn on. Well, it turns on for like a second, and then it turns off. So I take it back to the RV place, and they said, oh, it's the thermostat. So I go to Camping World, I get a thermostat, they install it, charge me like $130 something for installing it, and then diagnosing, and it still does it. And they said, I said, so I just put in a new thermostat and it's not that. And they're like, well, it needed a new thermostat. And I was like, well, it's still doing the same thing. How did it need a new thermostat, but it's still doing the same thing? They're like, well, it needed a new thermostat. I'm like, okay, the new thermostat is in, but it's still doing the same thing. So how do you know it was the thermostat? Because it didn't change anything. Whatever. They're like, well, maybe it's the switchboard, but we can't open it up today to pull out the switchboard and see if it's that until 2 days later, later on this week, because we have other appointments scheduled. So I have to wait like 2 days now to get it back in to see if they can pull out the switchboard, get the model number, and order it to see if it takes, depending on which model it is, might take a day or two or up to a week to order a new one. That's if it is the switchboard. So I'm like, okay, I have an extended warranty. Why did I just pay for that to get fixed? And why do I have to pay for the switchboard to get fixed? And they said, well, then the process is going to take a little longer if you want it to fix sooner, because then we got to get it approved through the insurance. And I'm like, that's what I have insurance for, right? Why is it taking? Anyway, so I'm like, first of all, the weekend before, it was like a weekend holiday and nothing was open, and I don't know, and then I couldn't get appointments, so I was supposed to be gone like 2 weeks ago. Probably gonna lose my job. It's probably no longer gonna be available by the time I get out of here. Anyway, yeah, so now tomorrow, 2 days later, I'm going back. So I've got a motor coach, and I'm like, oh, maybe we could use the motor coach. I turn on the motor coach, turn on the fridge, cool everything, turn the AC to make sure it's working. Well, one of the batteries, house batteries, is dead. So I charged it up with a solar panel, solar charger. Hopefully it's charged. I just had the generator refurbished. I turn it on, it's not starting, and I'm just like, oh. Finally, it's like, ooh, and it starts up, and it's like struggling to stay on. It turns off a few times, and I'm like holding it. Anyway, finally it turns on, and the AC is working. Whew, and the central air is working. I blast the AC, turn on the AC in the cab or in the front driver dashboard, and it doesn't get cold at all. I let it run for a while, for probably like 30 minutes, not getting cold at all. But the central air is still working, so I can drive down the road with the central air, and hot air blowing on me in the front, and the central air, I guess. So, what else? The fridge doesn't work. the freezer does, but the fridge doesn't. Again, the same problem. I just had that fridge replaced last year and it cost like $2,000 to get it replaced. I called the company who installed it and they're out of business. They're closed. The number no longer exists. And I talked to the RV place and they're like, yeah, I think they're out of business now or no longer in business. That's just one of the things I'm dealing with right now. I'm like, well, I have a motor coach. I'm thinking about, you know, since you can't get a new fridge for like 6 weeks, or if you can't fix the AC in the camper, can you fix the AC in the motor coach? You're like, well, we don't work on that part of the AC and, you know, the dashboard, that you'll have to take it to an auto place, to a mechanic. My mechanic wasn't available, but luckily I told him, explained to him, I gotta get to this job before I lose the job. And he says, I can see you tomorrow before his other job, which is, thank God. So now I have to drop off the motor coach to my mechanic and then the camper also to see if they can fix the AC. I've got 2 things that are broken that I can't use. What's the point of having them if I can't use them when I need them? And then that's part of the struggle. And then, yeah, I'll stop right there. I can't even talk about the other stuff. Yep. How's your week going? And it's only Tuesday.